Well, as you know, Washington State had a very fortunate winner of the one of the most recent big Powerball jackpots, $747 million. And we are now learning who this person is and what they do, and learning all about them. And joining me to talk about this momentous event is Kristi Weeks with Washington's Lottery. Kristi, thank you for taking a few minutes to join us. Really appreciate that. I got to start by asking you to tell us about this winner.
Well, her name is Becky Bell, and she lives in Auburn, and she is currently in the process of retiring from Boeing. She had planned to retire before the win, but now she may be moving that up a little bit. Just a lovely lady with a nice family, and we're so happy for her.
And I'm going off of memory because it's been several weeks since we actually had this drawing, but she was the only major jackpot winner in that drawing, right? There's no splitting of the jackpot.
Correct. She was the sole winner, and by the time all the tickets were counted, it was $754.6 million for the annuity factor. So if she wanted to take the prize over 30 payments, that would have been the full amount. In fact, she took the lump sum to get her cash up front, so it was a slightly smaller number, but still more than enough for any of us.
Yeah, so before that final calculation, it was the number 747 million that triggered Ms. Bell to buy another ticket. Tell us a little about that.
Sure. Well, the way Becky tells this story, she normally plays $20 every week on lottery tickets. She buys a few Powerball, a few Mega Millions, a few Hit 5, and the rest in Lotto. She has a very strict plan. This is what she does. And she'd already bought her tickets for this draw, but her daughter wanted to go to the grocery store and buy a few more tickets. So Becky went along with her. And when she saw that the jackpot estimate at that time was 747 million, it caught her eye because she works at Boeing. She's worked at Boeing for over 30 years, and they had just rolled out their last 747 airplane that they will ever manufacture. And when she saw the jackpot number, she thought, well, that's a sign. So she decided to buy a few more dollars worth of Powerball tickets, just quick pick, no special numbers, and that's the ticket that won.
And as I understand it, because I use the app myself to scan my tickets to check, and I'm guessing that's probably what she did if she, unless she went into the store to use a machine. But it sounded like she scanned some of her tickets first, and then some other ones later. And the first batch wasn't necessarily, didn't necessarily include any big winners.
Well, she had her original ticket that she previously bought. She scanned that, and it didn't have any winners. But then she scanned the second ticket. This was very early in the morning the next day. And she scanned it on the app, which was lovely use of our product. We appreciate that. And then the message came up to contact the lottery. So when you win something that big, it doesn't tell you all the numbers. It just says contact the lottery. Well, she thought that meant she'd won maybe $600 because that's the minimum amount for having to contact the lottery for a win. So she was pretty excited because she'd never won anything more than $20 before that. So she thought she won $600, and she was very happy with that. And then she started looking at the actual numbers on her ticket and comparing them to the winning numbers. And then she started thinking she might have won more than $600. So she started calling her family members, first one daughter, and then her son, and then her other daughter, and then her mom. Are you reading these numbers the same as I'm reading these numbers? And that's when it kind of hit her that she might have won the jackpot.
I don't know if she said anything to you, but I can only imagine she was probably pretty bowled over by it.
She was happy and in disbelief, and there were a few tears. among her and her family members, but she's handled it like a champ. I didn't really see her get too emotional about it until all the paperwork was done and she had the money, and I think that's when it became real. But it she was sure she had a winner, but I think she was just in shock.
Well, that brings up an interesting question. When does the paperwork change if you're talking about winning the big grand prize versus that $600 prize? Or, I mean, tell me a little bit about that paperwork process.
Sure. When anyone comes in to make a claim with the lottery, we have a claim form. You have to fill out your claim form. You have to provide the ticket. You have to provide your identification. You have to provide your social security number, or just give us your social security number and swear that that's your number if you don't have the card. Now for her, she had another piece of paper she had to complete, and that was the choice between the annuity payments or the lump sum, because that's pretty important. Once you make that choice, there's no going back. So it was it's kind of a big deal. It has to be notarized. So but really, that's about it.
I'm assuming there's a notary there handy at the lottery office in Olympia.
Yes, we do provide the notary.
And she would have made an appointment to come in, right? She doesn't just show up at the office in Olympia.
Correct. She made an appointment. We do ask anyone over 100 million to make an appointment and come down to headquarters rather than a regional office. There's some reasons for that. I mean, these are big numbers, and we want to make sure that we have the appropriate staff here to do the ticket verification and some of the back office work. But also, especially for a big jackpot winner like this, we wanted to have a little celebration. We had a cake and the big check and just staff cheering her on, because we are truly so happy for her. We want to give away money, and we're so excited to have a big Powerball jackpot. It doesn't happen very often here in Washington. I've been here for 5 years, and this is our first jackpot winner. So it's a big deal for all of us. And she was very gracious and allowed us to have a little celebration, just to celebrate her and her win.
And I want to clarify, is this the first Powerball grand prize winner that we've had in Washington?
No, it's the second. The first one, I believe, was 2014. It was 90 million. And the really funny part of that story is that the winner's husband worked at the same building at Boeing that Becky does.
That tells me if I ever want to win the thing, I better head over to Boeing and apply for a job and hopefully get into that same building. Now, you mentioned the party and the cake and the celebration. The last time we talked, I told you I've always dreamed of having one of those big oversized novelty checks in my hand, so I can put it up on the wall. I'm assuming she gets to take that home and do whatever she wants with it. Yeah.
We did give her the big check to take home, and also, a swag bag with some lottery t-shirts and mugs. And she didn't take a real check home with her. We did a wire transfer. So we didn't want her to leave empty-handed. We wanted her to have something when she walked out the door.
Well, and she took the lump sum amount. That brings up another good question. Once all the paperwork is done and the ticket is verified, how long does it take before that money is then transferred into her account?
It took about an hour and a half.
Wow, that's pretty quick. So you walk out of there, like let's say I have, $700 in my checking account, and then all of a sudden I have, 600 million sitting there after the taxes are taken out, or whatever the amount is.
Yes, it was a big amount. So there was some talking back and forth with the bank. So that our bank knew, yes, we really meant to transfer that much, and her bank knew that, yes, they really were intended to receive that much. But it was very funny. It was taking, a little bit longer than we had hoped. And, and I let Becky know that I could email her the verification afterwards if she didn't want to wait. And she looked me dead in the eye and said, "No, I would like a receipt." So she waited a little bit longer, and we were able to give her her receipt showing uh, what her lump sum payment was, how much was sent to the IRS on her behalf, and how much was just transferred to her bank account.
That's right, because you probably also needed to send her out of there with that IRS prize winners form so that she could file it with her taxes.
Absolutely. The IRS requires us to withhold 24% of any prize over $5,000. So the IRS got about $97 million. I'm sure they're very happy with her right now. But fortunately, because we live in the state of Washington, there were no state income taxes. So if you live in another state, particularly our neighbors to the south, you could be paying between 5 and 13% in on top of your federal income taxes in state income taxes, and that doesn't happen here.
My parents are in California, and I buy their Powerball tickets up here for that very reason. So we have thought this through. And the other thing, I meant to share as we were talking too, when the word came out that that winner was in Washington State, I'm not kidding you. My heart started to race, and I pulled out my tickets and I went to scan, and I thought, oh my God, it can't be. And it was not for me, obviously. But that's fine, because I'm going to keep playing. I'm one of those who, when it starts to get big, that's when I get in on the action. I'm not like Becky, where I do $20 a week every week or whatever. I wait till it really gets up there. But I mean, that's just such a wonderful thing for her. I can only imagine how she must have felt when she started to figure this thing out. And I want to back up, because if memory serves, that Fred Meyer in Auburn, when they realized that they had sold the winning ticket, they get, I believe it's $1 million. No, how much? What is it? How much do they get?
They received $50,000 for
$50,000.
selling it. Yes.
But they did something special with that money.
Yes, they took their $50,000 selling bonus and they donated it to their local food bank. And that's going to provide over 60,000 meals for their community members. And that was just a beautiful, wonderful thing. And then on top of that, the corporation donated another $10,000 to the store to throw a party for the employees at the store. So Kroger is just a fabulous lottery partner, and they are taking good care of their community in Auburn.
Absolutely. Kristi, what have I missed in this story that we have not talked about yet?
Well, you haven't asked me about her other win on her ticket. I think it was so funny. And when we came in and we scanned her ticket, not only did she win the jackpot, but another row of numbers won $8. So we had to add that to her check too.
Don't want to miss that $8.
$8 is $8.
I think the biggest one I've ever had is $4 or $5. Maybe I got a 10 once. I can't even remember, but that doesn't stop me from trying. And I'm sure that since we've had a winner here now, other people will be encouraged to do the same thing. When we got the winner? That brings up a good question. Did we see sales sort of get a boost because people were thinking, oh, gee, now we have a little bit of luck here in Washington?
Actually, yes. Of course, we had a big boost going into the drawing for the jackpot because the number was so high. But the numbers have stayed relatively high. We are on course for a record year, and we really are thankful for our players for supporting our beneficiaries that way. 18 cents of every dollar spent on lottery products goes to education in the state of Washington. In an average year, our revenue pays for about 18,000 people to go to college or higher ed, and a quarter of the state's early childhood education budget. So the more money we're bringing in through our ticket sales, the more money is going back out into the community in the form of education. So we really appreciate when we have these big bumps, and we really, really appreciate it when we maintain them.
Well, that's the best part about Washington's lottery, is that it helps people advance their education, and that early childhood education is so critical too. So two very important facets of that. Kristi Weeks with Washington's Lottery, cannot thank you enough for taking some time to talk with me.
My pleasure.